Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. This one is from the band Arc of Life. Some of you may not know who Arc of Life is, but they are former members, current members of Yes, being the main bands, but there's like former members of other bigger, well-known bands, all kind of connected to Yes and Asia and those bands in certain different ways. This is actually their sophomore album. It's called Don't Look Down, and I listened to this one a few times through, and I think I got a pretty good understanding of it at this point. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this one because I actually got the first album and I enjoyed that one quite a bit. This one's a little different, but at first I'll get to the members of the band here. I'll just run down through who the guys are. We got Billy Sherwood. In case nobody knows who Billy Sherwood is, he's kind of most known, I guess, for being a member of Yes. It's kind of funny because he started out like back in the Union era when they were all kind of like split up, and he started working with, I think, Trevor Rabin back in those days, and they were working on some new stuff. And then, you know, all these guys kept coming back in, and he kind of always stuck with them since then. He didn't end up being the bass player in the band until much later on, but he actually played guitar and, you know, background vocals and stuff on several of their albums. I think he actually produced a few of those back in the days, and he's just done other side projects. He's got all these tribute albums that he's worked on. Pink Floyd's one of the ones that comes to mind. I think maybe Genesis was another one. I'm sure there's more. The band Circa, which he was in some other members of Yes with, he sang lead and played bass in that. He actually took over for John Wetton in Asia when John Wetton passed away. He did that tour, and he sang and played bass. And then I guess when Bumblefoot took over lead vocals, he just played bass for them. And I mean, there's just countless and countless other projects. I could probably do a whole, you know, half an hour segment on all the stuff he's been involved with. He actually sings in this band as well, plays bass, you know, songwrites, produces, all that stuff. But the other, probably the most well-known one, is the singer John Davidson, who is the current lead singer of Yes. Joined back in 12, I believe. It's funny because I had actually seen Yes right before this. I saw them with that singer they had in between there. Benoit's last name, I can't think of his first name right at the moment, but I saw him with them. It was a pretty good show, and Asia was actually had opened up for them at that show. It was pretty good. They did like their a bunch of like obscure songs that they didn't usually play. It was a really strange show, but enjoyable. I mean, if you're a Yes fan, I guess you would have liked that. But getting back to this band, he was a member of Glass Hammer probably for a few years, 4 years I think he was. Did several albums with them, and he does have a voice very similar to John Anderson. That's probably how he got the gig. On drums we got Jay Shellen, who's played all kinds of different stuff. I remember him back in Hurricane with Kelly Hansen, who's the current lead singer of Foreigner, who I guess just announced their farewell tour. We'll see how long that one lasts. But he was involved with, I think he was in, I know he's worked with John Payne from Asia. I can't remember if he was actually in Asia at any point in time. They had quite a few members there after split with John Wetton and Steve Howe, and Jeff Downs went out on his own, and you know, got John Payne. They changed members quite frequently. I think he might have been involved with that, but he definitely went on to play with John Payne after that. A couple of different projects, and there are two guys. Jimmy Hahn, you got him. He was involved with actually Yes back in the Union time there too. I don't remember how much he actually did. Played a lot of guitar with on one of the Porcaro Brothers albums. I feel like it's all kind of fuzzy here, but and Dave Kersner on keyboards, who I don't know a whole heck of a lot about, quite honestly, but he actually plays very well on this album, and I'll have to probably look in to see what he's been, you know, involved in the past, because I really did enjoy his keyboard playing. Now, after all that, this album is quite a bit different than the first one, in the fact that there's only 6 songs. A couple of them are quite a bit longer, and it's funny, the last song on the album is called Arc of Life, and that's about 17 minutes and some change. The opener's one of the other longer ones. It's about 9 minutes. The other 4 there, just a little bit shorter, but the feel of this album is a little bit different. It sounds like they're trying to be a little bit more experimental, a bit more prog on this one. And it seems like Billy Sherwood did a lot more singing on this one than he did on the previous one. I haven't gone back and listened to the first one yet to be sure I'm right on that, but it seems like I hear him all over this one more than I did the first one. And it's kind of strange because him and John Davidson both have that same it's like pitch to their voice. It's a kind of a higher John Anderson sounding voice. I don't really care for Billy Sherwood's voice. In every project that he's sang in, I've always kind of thought that's been like the weakest thing that he's done. Great musician, great producer, real good bass player, plays good guitar. I think he did some keyboards with Yes, if I remember right. And but the singing, it's just the tone of his voice. I always kind of remember him being just a little bit off. It's kind of a weak voice. It's not a really strong voice. So this is personally, no disrespect to anybody that likes that his singing, but I just have never really cared for it. And it's just so similar to John Davidson's voice that there's a lot of unison singing going on. There's definitely harmonies and all that as well, but it seems like there's a lot of unison stuff going on, and I don't know, it just it didn't really mix as well for me on this one. The other thing I noticed is the playing is insane. Jay Shellens, the drums on this one really stand out. I don't usually, I love listening to drums. I love playing bass, so bass players like to lock in with the drummers, obviously, if they're, really in tune with their band and what they're doing. And so I really did notice the playing on this one a lot more than normal. And the keyboard playing on this one really stood out, which is weird because those are probably some of the lesser known guys in the band. Well, maybe not Jay, but Dave is, to me anyway. And the playing is just amazing. And of course, everything's great as far as performance and everything. But the songwriting, to me, didn't seem like it was quite as strong. It was really hard to tell. I've listened to this like 3 times through now, and I couldn't tell you what song was what if you played it for me right now. It's not quite as catchy. The melodies weren't quite as strong. And the mix on this one, I don't know how to explain it. It's clear, it's good. Excuse me, but there's no it just feels like the mix kind of sucked a little bit of the life out of the performance. Like it seems like it's just compressed a little bit too much. It's really dry. It doesn't sound like it's like a band playing together. It sounds like I'm sure this is how most bands work. They come in and do each individual part, but the trick is to get it to not sound that way. And even though everything's great and played perfectly, it just sounds, it feels, I shouldn't say sounds, it just feels a little lifeless to me, which is funny because it's called Ark of Life. And probably the most memorable song actually is Don't Look Down. That one had the title song. It actually had a little bit of a hook to it. I couldn't tell you anything else about it at this point, which 3 listens in, I should be able to remember a little bit more than that. I'm usually that's what I do is I learn songs a lot because I have to learn and play songs a lot, and I can't remember anything really that well from this one. And the last song, Ark of Life, it's good. The whole album's got a whole lot of ebbs and flows. It builds up and it gets slow for quite a while. Builds up and gets really slow for quite a while. And that was what was happening with the last song. And it was kind of strange. I'm jamming along. It's actually an upbeat part of the song, and then it was over, and I was like, "What happened? Didn't something happen with the CD? I didn't know what was going on." And I realized that was it just ended. It was strange. I actually had to check to make sure that something didn't go wrong. And so I don't know. It's a little weird. If I had to rate this one, I'd probably rate it a 6. The performance is great, but the memorableness, the mix, it just left me feeling flat. Sorry, Billy, but I don't care for your singing. I think I would have liked this a lot more if it had just been John singing. And maybe with some stronger melodies. Musicianship was just killer, but the vocal melodies were just a little bit just boring. I was really looking forward to this one too, and I wanted to like it. So there's nothing worse than when you want to like an album and it just, I didn't really have super high expectations. Like I was like dying to hear this thing, but I had expectations it was going to be better than this. So sorry guys, but I didn't care for it. Maybe somebody out there like this, it's worth checking out anyway. I mean, I wouldn't throw it in the garbage heap, but it's not one I'll probably be throwing on my display or my song list or anything like that anytime soon. So unfortunately, this one was kind of a little bit of a letdown. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff, and we'll talk to you later. See you.